Hello everyone, thank you for coming in. I'm thinking of not presenting everything in 15 minutes, that's not going to be possible, but given that's a Linux and Zephyr conference, in a way, I thought about one possible use case is to select a reason, one particular reason where you're forced to move from one ecosystem that is very well developed, which is Linux, and go explore a new one, which is making a slow beginning, in particular in the video area. And we are going to take the point of view of sometimes things that happens increasingly more often, silicon shortage, in the example of a RAM chips shortage. So that's a Wikipedia article taken from this morning. It's very dramatic, but it's for DDR5 and DDR4 memories, and most embedded low-power microcontroller and embedded Linux controller typically use DDR2 and DDR3. But still, we can imagine that having a DDR high-speed memory chip in your device does have an extra constraint in a supply chain. I'm not sure we are going to have a RAM Mageddon or a RAM apocalypse anytime soon on Zephyr RTOS if you don't have a RAM chip. So that's one possible reason is that you do not have enough chips for building your device if you use a system that requires a RAM to boot or external RAM. Let's look quickly at a lot of different SoC. I picked the OpenIPC project, which is a project from drones and other CCTV system. And let's just look what are the RAM requirements. What do they select for SoC as RAM? And here in red we see embedded DDR chip. So there is a RAM chip inside, a RAM die inside the chip. So you have a chip which is a plastic package, and there are silicon that is providing the feature of the chip, and there's another small silicon that is a RAM die, which is the active part of the chip, into the same package. So you're going to have, even if you have just one chip on your PCB, you are going to, like on the top right here, you have just one chip on your PCB. Just, okay, I don't have any external RAM. Yes, but the silicon provider purchase a RAM part and put it inside the chip. And if you open, you're going to have a little RAM that is shortage and the rest of the SoC. So even if you have a single one-part solution, yes, but inside the one part, there are two parts. It can also happen. Well, here is DDR2, maybe not shortage yet, but still we have this use case. So it seems like every SoC I found, they somehow use like large amount of RAM for the application. And is every camera processor requiring such amount of memory for effectively running? And I was surprised because I didn't like, unlike most video developer coming to Zephyr, I start from microcontroller background, not from a Linux background. So I did not know that Linux was requiring such a large amount of RAM. It's like a small resolution, but much larger amount of RAM required, a gigabit, maybe not gigabyte, but still, that's astonishing amount of memory for just small frames. So why will that be required? Maybe that's so many of them. Always DDR part inside. It's difficult to make Linux boot without DDR memory. So let's do some maths. If you just pick a full HD, which is reasonable amount, we got even fewer than that. That's small image frame, but we got to take full HD, and that's just 2 megabytes for one frame in RAW format. So, well, maybe gigabit external RAM of very costly, not a small parallel RAM. Maybe it's possible to build a small device and avoid completely the requirement on a sensitive component that's present inside the chip or outside. And so that's a competitor to Zephyr Linux, but I did not find the exact same thing. But I suppose you can imagine shrinking Linux to boot without any RAM chip. Well, you will end up with probably some number like this. It may depend over time. But if this is something that is very difficult for Linux to boot with just 4 megabytes of RAM, for Zephyr, it's barely a stretch. You can boot with kilobytes of RAM. You boot Zephyr with 4 kilobytes of RAM. That will have been impressive, but 1 megabyte is already huge for most systems. So if there is any reason that Linux require a lot of RAM to boot and run the application, you do not have that with an RTOS. And interesting property is that if you switch from Linux to Zephyr, you do not switch from one chip to another chip. You switch software to software, which means that if you have an existing system and you can not find any RAM chip for your application, now what happens if you just remove the RAM chip? You do not change anything out of the PCB. You manage to make it boot without the RAM chip, bare metal, for instance. Well, maybe there is still enough cache or enough on-chip RAM for booting Zephyr. So if you face a RAM shortage at the middle of your project, and then you say, hey, let's do this. The PCB is ready, everything is ready. Remove the component that is shortage and run an RTOS instead of a general purpose operating system. So maybe that works. Effectively, in some case, it might boot. It might be able to run some application. So what really do we have in Linux that we do not have in Zephyr that will prevent us to do the full product? And unfortunately, there is a lot of software infrastructure in Linux. It is probably, I remember why we wanted Linux. Because of all of this, as you have media device drivers that are very well structured, media API. You have, on top of that, you're going to have still a lot of complexity to solve. So libcamera is going to provide you a simplified camera API. And on top of that, you just with the camera, you're not convenient to integrate sometimes. So you just go one more level. You use GStreamer, for instance, for network streaming or for adapting to a display, or you use Pipewire for integrating this with a desktop environment or user interface or thing like that, or car or multimedia system. And then you also have a lot of application software like OpenCV. And the large vertical line in the middle is a list of all image sensor driver. And this was too large for my browsers. This is much larger than that. So that is absolutely exceptional. And we do absolutely not have that in Zephyr. You have in the middle of the list of image sensors is a bit ridiculous in comparison, but there start to be interesting image sensor coming more and more. Like the one that ST is presenting here is actually a very good image sensor. You can see the quality is quite satisfying. And we also have some software elements that come. So we don't have quite the diversity and the completeness of the Linux ecosystem, of course. But slowly there are initiatives to bring things here. It starts from the API. And one interesting project that is coming is something to use this driver API, which is GStreamer. It's not called GStreamer at Zephyr, it's called libmp or libzmp. It's still a pull request. And there are a lot of feature plans. So none of this is even implemented, but you can imagine that you could build quite complex application. Let's just see the kind of things you have in GStreamer that you could be having in Zephyr RTOS as well. So Q elements in order to bring some elasticity when you receive image frames. You don't want to pass them all from the source to the destination. You want to let them wait for some other hardware to be ready or other software element. Maybe you want to add a queue of frames so that they are ready to be sent to the network when the network is becoming slow. You have T when you want to receive a frame and set them to both file storage and the network, for instance. You have application integrated into that, for instance, drawing a square around the detection AI detection result. You have H.264 compression, like the ST demo is showing. TCP server sync, and so to be able to test video stream sent over the network. You have webcam support, which is also shown on the other room, JPEG encoding and decoding, file source and sync to store and read images, and LZGL output that is also used by the STDemo. So we have kind of the STDemo that will have been very quick to implement if all of this were implemented already. And that is a kind of thing you go fetch on Linux currently. You do not realize that all these elements are present because you have them. You just start, for instance, they use GST launch on the host system to play the stream, but there is no JST launch on Zephyr. We just use it instinctively when you're a developer. You Google, okay, how do you find this software component? It's not yet completely there on Zephyr, but they're coming. And what this might change in practice is that soon, the thing you will thinking of building when you go make a camera-based application on Linux, some of it might start to be able to be reasonably easy, reasonably same amounts of difficulty as on Linux for the basic use case. And progressively, hopefully, we're going to be increasing the how easy it is to build and integrate these things. So now there's not enough time for me to detail everything. So maybe go reach us on Discord chat or GitHub discussion anywhere. And maybe it's a good opportunity to take feedback from anybody or take questions, because it's a vast domain with very few documentation, very few users yet. So does anyone ask a question?
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions pour Joshua?
Do you know if there are some similar efforts going on for audio on Zephyr? And if they can be merged with libzmp, typically, for the example, Linux PyPrio handles both. Is this a purpose of libzmp or not at all?
It would have been awesome if there was an ALSA that is working a bit like ALSA, what unified driver layer abstraction. But no, currently you have the digital microphone, you have each different kind of microphone that is having a separate driver. And one possible replacement for ALSA is going to be the Z-Aud, the ZMP audio plugin, which is also planned and it's already implemented. So you just have to pick it from the pull request. Oh, important to say that Fibang Nguyen is not present here. He's an older video maintainer, as he has been doing the whole LizZMP. So thank you, Fibang, who is probably going to watch that someday. Also did contributed to the Z Audio plugin to make universal audio input for it.
Is there a plan to have a hardware acceleration like H.264 or Motion JPEG hardware acceleration API like in JStreamer generally?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, there's on the list there was an entry for H.264, and that's of course one of the main use cases of JStreamer, to be able to control the complexity of H.264 parameters on how to adapt the bandwidth to the network. For instance, if you have congestion of the network is slow, you might want to have a lot of complex strategies, such as switching to a different resolution, but it means you have to reconfigure your image sensor, you have to reconfigure everything on the hardware side to support that. Maybe possibly in some case use the same H.264 encoder, but with two different resolutions in parallel, so that you can dynamically switch between the two inputs. So that if the hardware supports this, such a thing will be possible, because at the end, it's just the elements that implement the feature. The framework is just an empty box in which it's possible to implement arbitrarily complex pipelines, and the H.264 element is there. So you'll be able to build very complex network-ready H.264-based application with such a thing.